Houston Cougars were up by 12. In their final 4 possessions, it went turnover, 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 turnover. How do you put what we just watched into perspective?
You know, Florida flipped this thing. Their defense was great. Not good. It was great in the last 10 minutes of the game tonight. And, you looked at Walter Clayton Jr. getting frustrated early, but he never broke, right? He never broke. At halftime, hadn't scored a bucket. He gets his first bucket with, 8 minutes left in the game? And again, you just look at those guys, and we talked about Houston and how tough they were, physically and mentally. And you know what? Florida matched their mental toughness. And Alex Condon, he stepped up when it mattered. In the second half, he battled. But to me, I thought it was Florida's defense as much as anything else that kept them in that game in the second half, and obviously frustrated Houston down the stretch because, again, like you said, John, 4 straight turnovers for the Cougars. So it's kind of reminiscent a little bit of what Duke did at the end of the game the other night.
Jeff, they didn't get a shot off. Yeah. That stinks.
I feel so horrible for Emmanuel Shaw.
How can you not?
So horrible.
How about Kelvin Sampson? 69 years old. He's that close to getting a national title.
Yeah. I mean, I think he'll be back at some point here soon.
I mean, he's 69. How many chances?
That was his best shot to do it.
Yeah, of course. It
probably was.
They were up by 12. But you got to give Florida credit in this game because one thing that should never be forgotten in this game is what we watched tonight, and that was Houston's defense. The top defense in the country holding Walter Clayton without a made field goal for the first 32 minutes of the game. Jeff, if I had told you that before the game started, that Clayton wouldn't have a made field goal in the first 32, what would you have said?
Zero chance. But that was the thing, and I said this. They had 9 turnovers in the first half. Clayton had nothing. Elijah Martin had 2 points, and they were only down 3.
Why?
If I'm Ty Golden, I'm going in there and saying, you know what? We could not have played any worse, and we are right there with Houston.
Yeah.
And why were they within 3?
Because of the play of Will Richard. He knocked down 4 threes in the first half. He was the one that was able to get it going. He was able to take the lid off offensively a little bit. I thought that it took a while for Florida to figure out how to be able to handle the physicality and the toughness and the aggressiveness of Houston. We talked about it this week, right? You cannot replicate that in practice. You cannot replicate that length with your scout team. You cannot replicate that physical, the overwhelming way that they defend with your scout. You just can't do it. And it took Walter Clayton a little while to settle in. He takes some tough shots. He took bad shots. Even
early, they were bad
shots.
But they were bad shots that sometimes he makes. So, unfortunately, you know what? He's taking them, and he's thinking to himself.
They were quick, and they were deep, and they were early
but
in the shot clock.
He couldn't.
Alex Condon took a while to get going, too. Like, the key to being able to beat them, and what really ended up changing this game in the second half was, I think that it was the playmaking of the 4s for Florida. Because that's what ends up getting left open with the way that Houston wants to guard those ball screens. It's the playmaking of the 4s. And I thought that once Alex Condon stopped traveling, okay, once he settled down.
Well, the game was moving too fast for him.
That's exactly what it was. Right. That's exactly it was moving too fast for him. He was sped up. He couldn't make a decision. He sat out. I thought that the fact that he was downright unplayable for about 10 minutes. And then in the second half of the game.
The good thing is they can put those other 2 bigs in.
And they didn't go away from him.
Right.
And I thought that he made some really, really big plays in the second half.
And I'll tell you what else changed this game. When Javier Francis and JoJo Tugler were on the bench with 4 fouls apiece. In that 4-minute window, it went from a 6-point game to a tie ball game. The foul trouble for Houston, the officiating was very much a part in this. Now, thank you very much, Andy. Andy Katz, the legend. Foul trouble was very much a part in this game. Think about this. Florida wins the game by 2 in a game that they got called for 2 technical fouls in.
Yeah.
If every shot
one by
matters.
the bench.
Yes.
One by Rubin late in the game. 7 minutes left. I thought they were in trouble at that point, but they never went away. Houston was never able to kind of deliver the knockout punch, just like, again, Duke wasn't able to deliver it on them a couple nights ago. So, Florida's, again, those guards, man, they're just tough as shit. That's what they are. Those guards are tough as shit, and they made plays. Elijah Martin, with those 2 free throws, gives them their first lead since 8-6. early in the game.
Matt, we're
Well,
joined now
Matt-
by Florida Gator Matt McCall. Matt, I heard a rumor today.
What's that?
I heard a rumor. Did you hear about this? I heard it's great to be
I
Florida Gator.
I really felt like I was going to get the whole bar to do it.
Yeah, no.
They just,
no,
it wasn't
no,
like,
no.
it was
It
unbelievable.
wasn't
I'll tell you
big.
what, now that I've heard it in a full arena like this,
Yeah.
like that is like you're sitting there, you're
come
dancing in your
on.
seat a little bit.
Thought
That
I was gonna
good.
get
That
him
was awesome.
going.
How are you feeling, man?
I'm still trying to process what happened on the last play.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, can we
I
break
didn't-
that down a
break
little
that down.
bit?
Yeah,
Matt.
but I didn't have the greatest angle. I was sitting on the opposite baseline, and I was curious on why he called timeout to run a play the length of the floor like that, because there was 18 seconds left. Whatever, if you inbound it quickly, you get it up the floor, and the floor is broken, you may have a better opportunity to get a quick basket. But to run that play, and I thought something was going to. You could tell that they were trying to get Emmanuel Sharp a three. But in that situation, can you get something going to the basket? Try to get fouled, get in the paint. It's definitely not the play call that I'm sure Coach Sampson envisioned. But it was just a strange ending to what was a great game. And they outplayed Florida for a lot of the game. But Florida's resilience ended up winning out.
We have live reaction from the